What's up, y'all? This is Comcast, Mr. 5150. And y'all won't see this video until Tuesday morning because I will upload it, of course. But here's what I want to talk about, y'all. I would like to talk about the young man in Florida that lost his life because he was murdered. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a random bullet or anything. He was murdered. The young man's name is Trayvon Martin. He was 17. And the color of this young man doesn't even matter. The fact that does matter is that he was murdered. He was 17, hadn't even lived his life yet. The only thing that he was doing wrong was walking around in a neighborhood that his father lived in. Now, some people may want to pull out the race card, but I don't want to, because it doesn't matter. The only person that can honestly say that he targeted this young man because of his color is the person that murdered him. And I forgot his name because, frankly, his name really doesn't even matter. The name that does matter is Trayvon Martin, the 17-year-old that was murdered in Florida. The only thing, I say again, that he was doing wrong was coming back from the store. He had, like a soda and some Skittles. But this man that shall remain nameless, because the only name that we need to remember is Trayvon Martin, the 17-year-old that was murdered in Florida. You see, I keep saying his name because if you are a parent, a best friend, an older brother, an older sister, Trayvon Martin, the 17-year-old that was murdered, could be your little brother, could be your cousin, could be your best friend, could be your neighbor up the street, could be a student in your class, could be a person that you just see in the supermarket. But what happened to this young man was his father lives in a very nice, gated community in Florida. And there was a block captain there that I guess that he wants to be a police officer or something. See, but the problem with that is that as a citizen of any neighborhood, it's okay to patrol your neighborhoods, but once you step out of that citizen role and then you attempt to take on the role of a law enforcement official, there's something wrong with that. Well, I've heard it several times on CNN that he was a self-proclaimed block captain. So I'm thinking that that means that he wasn't voted in, he wasn't nominated, or anything. So he's walking around, and the residents of this affluent neighborhood said that he often walks around with his dog, stopping at people's doors and knocking on the door saying, hey, you left your window open, blah, 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 which is fine. That is a good thing. But also, on this night that he was walking, he saw Trayvon Martin, the 17-year-old that he murdered, who only had a drink of like a soda or something like that, a juice or something like that, and a bag of Skittles. The self-proclaimed block captain proceeded to call 911. He called 911, and the self-proclaimed block captain only complaint about Trayvon Martin, the 17-year-old that was murdered, was he looked suspicious. That in itself just pisses me off. That's sad, y'all. And it's scary because that can happen to anyone. It doesn't even matter if you're white, black, Hispanic, Italian. Anybody can look suspicious. Well, he dials 911 and says there is a suspicious black male walking around the neighborhood. Well, actually, Trayvon Martin, the 19-year-old that was murdered in Florida, wasn't walking around. He was traveling back to his father's home. So he calls 911 and he says, look, he is suspicious and he's this and he's that. Then the 911 operator says, well, are you following him? The self-proclaimed block captain says yes. The 911 operator replies, we don't need you to do that. Now, here is where everything after the 911 operator says we don't need you to do that goes wrong. He was out of line. Now, Trayvon Martin, the 17-year-old that was murdered in Florida, wasn't in no one's yard. He wasn't peeking in cars. He wasn't screaming loud. He wasn't throwing rocks. He wasn't doing anything out of the ordinary, but doing what we all do every day whenever we walk in the mall, we walk in Walmart, or we just walk down the street like those people over there are walking. Are they suspicious because they're walking around downtown Savannah? Or how about the people over there that's waiting on the light to change? Or how about this gentleman right here with the gray shirt on? Is he suspicious? No. Because he is doing what he has the right to do. And that is to walk around this public area. Now, after the 911 operator says, we don't need you to do that, the self-proclaimed black captain in Florida that murdered Trayvon Martin, the 17-year-old, follows him. He not only follows him. See, now here is where I have a major problem with what this self-proclaimed block captain did to Trayvon Martin, the 17-year-old that he murdered. He disturbs the young man. See, because the young man was on a public street walking back to his father's house. He disturbs that young man's peace. The young man was walking. The self-proclaimed block captain confronts the 17-year-old by the name of Trayvon Martin that he murdered. Then a scuffle ensues. But let's back up. This scuffle would have never happened if all he would have did was just call the police and wait for it, allow the police to come and check the young man out, and let the cops be the one to say, oh, he isn't doing anything. He's just walking back from the store. His father lives at da-da-da-da-da-da street. And then Trayvon Martin, the 17-year-old that was murdered, would still be here. Do you understand where I'm going at with this, people? You know, a lot of people say, well, you know, cops this and cops that. You know, I've had the same problem in my neighborhood too. But, you know, I legally carry my weapon, and I'm a very responsible weapon carrier. I just don't pull it out just to point at people, because how would you feel if somebody just pulls out a weapon and just points it at you? You know, when owning a firearm comes a great deal of responsibility, and I take that very seriously. So, if the self-proclaimed block captain would have just let the cops come and check this young man out. Trayvon Martin, the 17-year-old that was murdered, would still be here with his mother and with his father. But no, because the self-proclaimed block captain felt that a young man with a soft drink and a bag of Skittles was a threat, he shot him in the chest and killed him. Now, people, the self-proclaimed block captain said his life was in danger. He felt threatened. And for the life of me, I can't wrap my head around that. Because after being in the military for a number of years, being authorized to use deadly force if needed, there are rules of engagement in the Army, and there are rules of engagement being a civilian. And regardless of what the law states about the stand your ground law in Florida, I mean, there should be some common sense. He said the young man was reaching into his waistband. Well, he could have been scratching his stomach, but there wasn't no reason to shoot him. I just don't understand it. Now, he didn't see no weapon. The only thing Trayvon Martin did to harm the self-proclaimed block captain was he defended himself against the self-proclaimed block captain. Trayvon Martin, the 17-year-old that was murdered in Florida, started to get the best of the self-proclaimed block captain and started punching him all in the face, bloodied his nose, in fact. So, here is what I think what happened. I think Trayvon Martin, the 17-year-old that was murdered in Florida, was just walking, minding his business. And the self-proclaimed block captain approached him, asking him all kind of questions. And he probably told him, you know, I'm coming from the store and my daddy lives there. Why do you want to know? You know, I'm just speculating at this point. But wouldn't you feel a certain kind of way if you're in your own neighborhood where you're supposed to be and somebody comes questioning you? I think that the young man probably said a couple of choice words to him, and he got pissed off, and the self-proclaimed block captain got in his face, and Trayvon Martin, the 17-year-old that was murdered in Florida, defended himself. And he put a nice little whooping on the self-proclaimed block captain. And he couldn't take that. This kid just whooped you. So, he pulls out his weapon and fires one deadly shot into the young man's chest, who didn't have a weapon. He didn't have a stick, didn't have a knife, didn't have a brick, didn't have a bat, didn't even have a pencil. All he had was a drink and some Skittles. There's a problem in America, and it's called laws. A lot of these laws were created with loopholes, you know? But, you know, I'm just talking, y'all. It's sad that that young man by the name of Trayvon Martin, that was 17 years old, still a baby, haven't even lived his life yet, is now gone. and his parents must bury him. All because of a wannabe neighborhood block captain hero. He wanted to be a hero. He wanted to save the day. But instead, he took a young man's life by the name of Trayvon Martin, 17-year-old that was murdered in Florida. It's wrong. It's wrong. Now, people are talking about this Coney 2012 and this bunch of crap. That guy hadn't been active since 2006. If you want to support something, make a response video to this video and share it. It was long, yes, it was a long, drawn-out video, but it's sad that that young man is gone. It's sad that Trayvon Martin, the 17-year-old that was murdered, had to lose his life for just doing what we all do. I mean, am I suspicious just driving my truck down the street? Am I suspicious? Well, hell, I'm black, so does that make me suspicious? Come on, people. Come on, man. So, y'all, please, I don't ask for this much. Can you please like, comment, and favorite this video? And also, please don't forget to share this video with your friends, family, colleagues, your neighbors, because this needs to be heard. And the sad part about it is it happens every day in America. Y'all take it easy. My name is Comcast.